Yo. Greetings once again, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Channel Awesome Retrospective. If you haven't seen the other parts of this retrospective series yet, then be sure to go and check them out if you will. There is a playlist down below, though they will not be necessary for the following video, which will be all about Brad Jones, otherwise known as the Cinema Snob. So we have now covered the four main pillars of the original ThatGuyWithTheGlasses.com website. Doug Walker's Nostalgia Critic, Lindsay Ellis's Nostalgia Chick, Louis Lovehog's Linkara and Atop the Fourth Wall, and Noah Antweiler's Spoonie. So now is the time for us to finally start diving into some of the lesser-known figures of the website. Though some are quite popular to this day, they are nonetheless not who is headlining the website front and center as much as the main four were. Mind you, I remember back in the day, because I enjoyed the site so very much, that I ended up giving quite a few creators on the site a try, if not nearly all of them at least once. And while it was near impossible to see everything the site had to offer at times, with the crazy output of all these guys and gals during that time frame, I will say that did make it fun if you happen to give a creator a try and find that you actually enjoyed their stuff, to then binge watch all of the episodes that they had created up until that point. Or if you found them kind of boring, then fair enough, you can just watch someone else. I explain all this because for the next several videos, we aren't exactly doing 16 or 4-hour documentaries on some of these folks, as many of them either just didn't have all that much drama attached to them, thus they don't warrant such explanation, or covering their content would become rather redundant after some time, since at some point it's just going to be a guy or a girl reviewing movies or games in pretty much a similar style to the Nostalgia Critic. No, instead, we will be cutting a bit of a cross-section through some of these folks, still going into far more detail than anyone else here on YouTube has, of course, since many of these creators from this point on have never had any dedicated documentary made about them, but at the same time, we'll be painting with a slightly more broad and actually briefer brush as we go, giving more details into the creators who stuck through it, or perhaps played a significant role in the Channel Awesome films to come, while some of the smaller creators who never really made it that far are just not that important to the larger story of Channel Awesome, we'll be taking a far more cursory look, unless there's something that seems especially interesting to me, of course. With all that being said, today starts our deep dive into the first of what I'm going to call the three main subcategories of ThatGuyWithTheGlasses.com, those being Team That Guy with the Glasses, Blistered Thumbs, and Inked Reality, with Team That Guy with the Glasses consisting of creators who mostly did movie reviews like Doug or Lindsay, but usually into further further more specific niches, as more creators were added into that category. Then Blister Thumbs was pretty much a catch-all for all the creators who were focused on video game content. This would include Spoony, for example, or the likes of Angry Joe and what have you. And then finally there's Inked Reality, which is primarily about anime, though it would also consist of stuff about cartoons or animation as a whole, I suppose, but it was mainly where the anime creators showed up, as is where people like Mars Girl, for example, or Bennett the Sage would be seen. So to start, we'll be covering all the creators who fell under Team That Guy with the Glasses first, starting with one of the most popular and significant of the creators from that category, none other than Brad Jones, otherwise known as the Cinema Snob. Brad Jones was born on December 20th of 1981 in Springfield, Illinois, USA. And like many of the creators we've covered thus far, Brad didn't first start out on thatguyWiththeglasses.com, but instead he started out on YouTube, all the way back in 2007, though his history of creating stuff goes a little further back than even that. Before adopting the Cinema Snob persona, Jones was already immersed in filmmaking. He produced low-budget independent films that often mirrored the same exploitation and genre cinema he would later review. This background is crucial to understanding his work. Unlike many reviewers who approach bad movies purely from a distance, Brad engages with them as someone who understands their constructions, limitations, and intentions, since he made several of those types of movies. These films he would end up making consisted of the 2003 Freakout, which the IMDb page description says is about, quote, "In 1973, teenager Wayne gathers his two friends, a female runaway named Rhonda, and a disco club hopper Tim, for a drug party located in the suburban home of quiet, reclusive Dean. But unknown to Tim and Rhonda are the horrible secrets which lie in Dean's basement storage room. Dean is a murderer of local teenage males. He uses his basement as a torture dungeon, with the help of Wayne and fellow teenager David. When the drugs and alcohol mix get higher throughout the night, not even so-called friends are safe from the sadistic bloodlust of Dean, inspired by a true story." Unquote. Sadly, I wasn't able to see much of this film, because it seems like the only official way to watch it through Brad's website, the video embedding is broken or something like that. A trailer does exist though, alongside a video where Brad explains what one can expect from this film.
Well, you've seen me play the Cinema Snob and Vic, or the voice of Vic, on the big box, and some of you have seen me as the lovable romantic lead in Game Boys. And now, here's your chance to see me as a psycho killer in Freakout. It's my pleasure here to introduce our very first original movie that me and the boys did, and it's called Freakout, of course. So it's hardly a director's cut, but the violence is all intact, I promise you. But there's one scene that has nudity in it that I had to add the black box to. It's pretty tense. Is rather intense. Even me watching it today. So if you hate the movie, if you don't like it, don't worry, I promise you my feelings won't be hurt. And if you don't like it, I guess I could say that our movies got better. But it's an interesting watch. Give it a watch. It was our first movie, and it's pretty good. I like it. So give it a watch.
And there is a couple on YouTube, I believe, who did a reaction type video to the film and sort of showed a fair bit of the movie on screen at the bottom of the video. But yeah, it's a slasher film that's loosely, like really fucking loosely, based on the real life serial killer of Dean Corll. The other films he made include 2005's Cheap, which is about, quote, an explicit thriller detailing the feasibility of producing and distributing snuff films, which are still only considered to be an urban legend. Driven mad by his failure to sell a profitable film in the porn industry, a director decides to create authentic snuff films with the assistance of two teenage runaways and a perverted cameraman. When the film brings in a profit through an amateur internet production company, they begin to see the film industry for what it really is, a world of backstabbing and double crosses. The group of twisted filmmakers then extract their own form of graphic revenge on the very people who made them successful, unquote. Then there is Midnight Heat, which is about, quote, a story of cops, hookers, killers, and pimps, all centered around one sleazy night in the late 1980s. A cocaine-addicted homicide detective is brought out of suspension to trail a local prostitute who may become the next victim of the Scalper, a serial killer who preys on the city's hookers. Meanwhile, her burnt-out pimp attempts to get out of the business, while finding it harder to protect his girls from both the killer and an abusive rival pimp, unquote. As you can see, there are some common themes in Brad's films. They are, again, as I noted, very much sleazy, cheap exploitation films. And according to Brad himself, the first two of those exploitation films he made while he was high as fuck off of cocaine. Yeah, I'm not joking. And technically the first film he's ever made wasn't even Freak Out. No, the first film he actually made was all the way back in 2002. That is now seemingly completely lost media, as it was never posted anywhere, and Brad apparently lost the original DVD that he saved it on, that first film being titled Sadistic Bitch. Though based on the description of the film, I'm unsure if I would really want to see it, even if it were ever found. With the description reading, quote, after discovering that her husband has cheated on her, the vengeful Mulaney documents her exploits to gruesomely turn her husband, Jason, into a woman through means of such tools as power drills and tongs, unquote. Holy fuck, what a first film to make. Actually, Men's Groin Destruction was also featured in his other film, Freak Out, as well. I guess he was trying to imitate the really, truly nasty, fucked up exploitation films of the era. Stuff like The Last House on the Left or I Spit on Your Grave, where similar things happen amongst other terrible things. But honestly, since he was high as fuck off of cocaine, who knows? I'm not sure if any creative choice could truly be seen as reasoned out given that info. All the same, he would later go on to make a rom-com as well, with 2008's Game Boys, which was about, quote, Scott and Ray are two old-school video game geeks who spend the majority of their day playing Nintendo and reminiscing about the 80s. But when Scott is dumped by his girlfriend, the two devise a plan to take Scott's mind off of the drama. With the help of their friend Steve, the boys seek out the rare Atari porno game, Custer's Revenge, in an attempt to hold a contest to see who can get past 5,000 points. All while Scott desperately tries to woo the attention of Sally, the beautiful game store employee, unquote. He would also go on to make an action thriller comedy in 2010, called, and I'm not kidding, The Hooker with a Heart of Gold, which was about, quote, an out-of-work surgeon creates a powerful prosthetic heart made of solid gold, which he transplants into the body of a beautiful prostitute he accidentally runs over with his car. The two then find themselves on the run from a former pimp and from a team of gangsters to whom the doctor owes big money, unquote. It goes without saying that watching any of these films, even the ones you are able to watch still, is a interesting experience. They're very amateurish and quite, well, they're kind of bad. But bad in a sort of intentional way. Like, it's aware it's a film filmed on a potato quality camera, and basically no budget whatsoever. It's not really pretending that it's anything of higher art, I suppose I should say. With most of the budget, if there is any, going into some of the special effects, the funny or strange dialogue, and again, the sleazy over-the-top scenarios being the main pull of them. All of which were core features of the many films Brad would come to eventually review on his internet review show that would come to define much of his online presence and legacy to this very day. It was on June 16th, 2007, when Brad would create the first episode in what would eventually lead into an over 800 episode series called The Cinema Snob, a show where he plays the titular character, this well-dressed man in all black, usually lounging in a big chair, reviewing movies. Though I did say before that many of the creators in Team ThatGuyWithTheGlasses.com had a sort of gimmick or angle that they were coming from with their videos. And Brad's was that he was playing this very snobbish, intellectual man with an equally sardonic tone who was reviewing films that were, well, to put it simply, do not demand this tone whatsoever. Slasher flicks, exploitation films, obscure horror flicks, weird sequels, foreign films that are rip-offs of other films, or, in some cases, straight-up fucking pornos. This is, of course, meant to sort of be a contrast for the character that he is playing. It is part of the joke, as he notes in an interview he did for the site Innovation and Tech Today, when he was asked what made him originally want to start getting into reviewing movies, and especially as the Cinema Snob character in particular, with him noting, quote, "I had a lot of free time. This was 10 years ago. I made movies for a long time, and I still do. And before I started the Cinema Snob, I had done 3 micro-budgeted exploitation movies, and the job I was working at the time was very, very part-time. I was really only there in the early morning and late morning, and at the time on YouTube, there wasn't a lot of spotlighting going on of exploitation movies, and some things that I enjoyed and really grew up on. So I wanted to take a shot at doing an internet series, so I created this character called the Cinema Snob that was based on some people that I kinda knew from the film festival circuit, and also kind of a satire of mainstream movie reviews, but of exploitation movies. Like when Siskel and Ebert reviewed Friday the 13th, the final chapter. So it was kind of having a laugh along with some movies and really satirizing this character type, and getting more and more people interested in this kind of movie, good or bad, just different subgenres in and of themselves." Unquote. Looking at his very first episode of the series where he talks about Burial Ground, Night of Terror, the video, while in the absolute worst, blocky, damn near completely invisible to the human eye video quality, a few things can still be noted. It features a very similar format to that of the Nostalgia Critic. Though short as the video may be, it shows the snob sitting in his chair, introducing the film, then commentating on the film, while also showing clips of it, before cutting back to him saying some sort of joke or comment in his chair again. Rinse and repeat until the movie is over. Again, very much the same rhythm as the Nostalgia Critic videos.
Burial Ground, Nights of Terror. So this film starts out with a bang. Never mind story development. This movie wants to get to the shitty-looking zombies right from the very get-go.
We've got this asshole professor who goes nosing around an archaeology site only to have his tour gravely interrupted by skeletal zombies.
What would any normal person do? Here's what they'd do. They'd go the Night of the Living Dead route. They would run the fuck away, they'd board themselves up in a farmhouse, and wait until morning for the black hero to get shot in the head. Well, not this professor, though. No. He's a fucking pacifist when it comes to the living dead.
I have safely returned to my big, comfy chair. Last year, when I was gone this long, I came back with a movie about zombie Confederate soldiers. Thank God there's not another one of those. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. Fuck!
Well, another brunch has been skipped. So this is what I'm in for today, huh? Killer slugs? Well, in the realm of Nature Goes Berserk movies, I guess it is inevitable that the slug would have its day in the salt mine. We've had movies about killer snakes, killer mosquitoes, killer bears, killer frogs, killer snakes, killer ticks, killer crocodiles, killer you name it, killer bees, killer rats, and of course, killer snakes. I am never taking home a stray aardvark again. If these movies teach us anything, it's that it's illegal to fuck animals, but animals have the God-given right to fuck you.
At least all of this paves the way for my little brother to sell his unproduced screenplay, The Platypussies.
Though notably, much of his tone is quite a bit different from the critics. He's less theatrical and more cutting with his comments, less screaming and animated emotions, and more long strings of snarky comments and rants.
Well, I for one am shocked and appalled at the amount of skeezy adult subject matter in this so-called horror film.
Just because it is a serial killer movie about a man who kills women and places their scalps on a collection of mannequins does not give this sleazy and disturbing movie the right to be sleazy and disturbing. Kids who probably did pick on him at the summer camp.
I think his voice also plays a bit of a role here in that distinction between the two, as he naturally kind of sounds like JD from the movie Heathers, but like slightly older, I guess, version of that.
I don't know, probably row out to the middle of a lake somewhere, bring along a bottle of tequila.
While also sounding tone-wise like he's constantly rolling his eyes. He's interesting, and if nothing else, gives his rants a bit of a unique flair for their time.
Have movies like Microwave Massacre and The Washing Machine. For the love of God, these movies are the equivalent of finding a dead hooker in the back of an Edsel. And you know what the worst thing is? The movie I'm going to talk about right now, The Refrigerator, isn't even the only killer fridge movie in existence.
He's talking about all these crazy, weird, or obscure films, right? That most of you have probably never heard of. Hell, I really truly mean it when I say there is a ton of movies that Brad has reviewed that I'm pretty sure to this day he's the only person to have ever reviewed on the internet, at least in a video format. And if not the only one, his videos were certainly the first for so many of the films that he covered. And many of them are just so interesting or funny in their own way, just in their own existence, or how they're shot or presented. And again, it is interesting seeing all these really weird and obscure or trashy-ass movies. It makes his show at times feel like a true insider look into the world of film that most still never really dive into.
Start off part 2 of our week-long celebration of all things Pierre Kirby. I guess we should ask that burning question. What the fuck ever happened to Pierre Kirby? Well, you want to know the honest answer? I haven't the faintest fucking idea, which makes that a prime candidate for this edition of Cinema Snob Mysteries. This is a pair of anaglyphic 3D glasses. The anaglyph process involves two images from the left and right perspective blended together to form a single image. Upon putting on a pair of red-blue anaglyph glasses, the eye covering the red filter sees images as being white, while the eye covering the blue filter processes the images as being black. When the brain combines these two images, it adapts all of the color images, and when the brain combines the images received from each eye, it interprets the difference of perspective as being the result of depth or distance. And there you have anaglyphic 3D. And guess what? It doesn't fucking work. It never has fucking worked, and it never will fucking work.
But later, he would sort of expand beyond this and cover more popular slasher films and what have you, as slowly but surely Brad's calmer and more natural, still sarcastic, but overall less aggressive personality started to shine through as he got more comfortable with the character and exactly how he wanted to cover films in the future. And that's when I really started to vibe with the show a lot more, personally.
The opening reminds you that the film is rated R. I would say, what the fuck else would it be rated? But nowadays it's kind of a crapshoot. What a coincidence. It's a Jason Inc. production. The Michael Myers Inc. people wanted no part of this. Funny too how it's called Jason Inc. on the one Friday the 13th film where, aside from stock footage, no one calls him Jason. Speaking of, I guess there's no need for you to watch the second one now because the opening of this film completely spoils it for you. Ooh, does this mean I get to repeat my jokes from the second movie?
I better not do that. The jokes won't make any sense now, being in 3D and all. So let's stray away those old jokes.
However, eventually, as you probably saw coming, no doubt, at some point, these videos showing copyrighted content and all about violent exploitation films and pornos did eventually get his channel banned from YouTube. However, thankfully for Brad, he just so happened to be friends with one Noah Antweiler, or Spoonie, who was a big fan of his stuff, and so decided to help bro out and showcase some of his videos on his own website, as well as Spoonie suggesting that Brad open his own website as well, as he notes in this video in response to Brad's YouTube channel being taken down.
Really bad horror flicks, amazingly bad sequels to series you may not have even known existed, and I've been following this guy for a while, and I'd suggest you do the same, but you can't. Why? Well, a couple of days ago, his account got suspended from YouTube again. And this is actually, I think, the third time he's been suspended, and I don't think he can keep pushing his luck on the appeals process. And so I actually wrote him and encouraged him to seek out his own web space and host his videos elsewhere, which for me was a very difficult decision to make, because leaving YouTube is a considerable decision. You don't get really ad revenues from YouTube unless you're a partner, and guys like me and guys like the Cinema Snob will never be partners, on YouTube anyway. And besides that, it's a really easy way to build a fan base, and it's a really easy way for people to follow you. But he needs to get his own web space, and so I've encouraged him to do that. Until then, I would like to feature his videos here. So you're probably going to see a couple new releases from the Cinema Snob on the front page, and I encourage you to check them out, because I thought my library had some obscure movies. I thought I had a high threshold for pain when it comes to watching really bad movies. Trust me, this guy is pretty legendary in my book when it comes to being able to sit through some of the worst garbage in history. Just his ability to find this stuff is pretty epic. I think if you sit down and watch this guy, you're going to be pretty blown away, just at the depths to which cinema has sunk in some cases. So I hope he gets his website up very soon, because I think his videos are worth checking out. So without further ado, I present to you the Cinema Snob. Enjoy.
Brad also made a video about the topic as well on his second channel, where he uploaded trailers for all of his own indie films.
Hey everyone, it's Brad, and as a lot of you may have noticed, YouTube has suspended my YouTube account again. And if some of you might remember, the same sort of thing happened about a year ago, and I think I also made a video just like this one a year ago this month. I might even be repeating myself in this same video, but the same thing happened again. Someone behind one of the movies that I talked about in a video complained, and I can't remember who it was who complained the first time around. I just remember the first time around being confused, and I didn't really know what to do in the days after that. I remember just kind of randomly sending a letter to YouTube, and I think at that point I thought, well, shit, that was a fun ride. Now what else do I do? So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to get turned back on or not, and at this point I don't fucking care, because truth be told, I'm really treating this as a sort of blessing in disguise, because I wanted to make my own website for a while now, because for far too long, YouTube has gotten away with a lot of fucking shit. Be it muting our videos, or just fucking taking our videos off and removing our accounts. That shit has been going on for far too long, and it's annoying. It's just annoying. That's all there is to it. So I've had it. I'm done with it. I'm moving on to creating my own website, which I actually did tonight. You can find it at www.thecinemasnob.com.
This did eventually lead to Brad making his very own website, like Spoonie has suggested, for hosting all his content on. And then later on, through Spoonie, Brad would end up getting ushered into hosting his content over on thatguyWiththeglasses.com, and became extremely popular over there pretty much instantly. Not just for his Cinema Snob series, but also for his various other series he started making there as well, which we'll get to talking about here shortly. Despite the sarcastic tone of all these reviews, there was an undercurrent of genuine appreciation for these films being reviewed, or at least quite a few of them. Brad does not approach exploitation cinema with pure disdain, but instead his work often reflects a nuanced understanding of its appeal, creativity, and historical context. This balance places him closer to the likes of Mystery Science Theater 3000, where humor coexists with a certain affection for the material, which again is why I think of all the people who had a long career with reviewing film, I do think Brad only got better with time, rather than ever petering out or getting tiresome like so many others sadly tend to, do at some point. Some of the other series that Brad made on ThatGuyWithTheGlasses.com included Brad Tries, which was actually one of my favorite series of his, and one I remember watching quite a few times back in the day. The series basically saw Brad try out different foods, snacks, drinks, and all sorts of stuff like that. And while that may sound a bit mundane or simple, and it certainly is to some degree, Brad's personality really shines through here in these far more laid back and chill sort of videos where he doesn't have to be playing a character. It was also, for the time back in 2010, kind of novel to see someone try out a bunch of strange sodas and snacks from other countries, or stuff like that in general. It's a form of content that is extremely popular and quite prevalent nowadays on pretty much every video platform. But Brad, as far as I'm aware, was at least one of the first to do this style of video content.
He did probably. It says deadly more than once on here, and the fact it's shaped like a coffin, and clearly this belongs on Flaming Brian's Kitchen, and not my innocent eating spoiled food show. But Brian's been having some stomach aches lately, so they just stuck a plain chip up the Grim Reaper's ass and put it in a bag. This is from Paquí tortilla chips made with the Carolina Reaper. This is a great idea. This is just a great idea. I won't make a noise. I promised myself I wouldn't make a noise. I don't know if that was a good idea. But I could get free chips out of it. That smells like someone with really shitty breath ate a lot of yogurt and is breathing a little too close to my face. But there's like an after smell where it's like, I'm sure that yogurt they ate was probably really good, but it's mixed in with some bad breath. Alright, these are honestly mostly, it says bag of bones on here, but it is just regular Cheetos. So it's a bag of bones. What they don't tell you is it's just the femur bone. Femur is a human bone, Ray. Alright, this one's a little bit bigger of a piece. Let's do this. Yogurt Cheetos. That is not bad. That's not bad at all. This is like, I want some plain white yogurt. Make sure it's really sweet, and in Cheeto form, like a booze old friend with chicken in it and ketchup around the rim.
It smells ketchupy.
It does. And chickeny and rummy and root beery.
I think what you meant
All
to say is
things
yummy.
Lewis. You can see the ketchup draining down from the side of it.
Oh,
it's
gosh.
sweating ketchup. It's like I do whenever I have McDonald's. Even when I don't have ketchup, it just still makes you sweat that. This is it's the Angry Linkara drink. And Linkara doesn't drink which is why this is the angry Linkara. So I believe this originally started out as just a Kraken and root beer, but that's just a Kraken and root beer. Like, I got a drink. It's called the Angry Snob. It's gin and tonic, whatever. Two things I don't like.
It's gin and Crystal Pepsi.
I hate gin. Fucking hate gin. Like, I'd rather have something with a chicken finger sticking out of it than to drink anything that's gin related. Okay, so if you want to have your angry Linkara, all you gotta do, root beer, Kraken, you can mix it however you want. If you want it mostly Kraken or mostly root beer, that's all up to you. But you gotta have the ring of ketchup around it, because Lewis uses ketchup to dip his chicken in, which I'm not one to talk about eating things weirdly. And then you just gotta go wherever you can get yourself a nice chicken finger, which Lewis loves.
In this instance, this came from Culver's.
Yeah, right from next door, Culver's.
Yeah, Culver's in Bloomington, Minnesota.
Did you tell him you were using it to dunk booze into?
No.
Oh, you
Mostly
should've,
because
man.
there were children in earshot.
Oh no.
God help the children. Oh no.
I'm not completely evil.
That's the I am. I would totally have told them.
I guess I'm going first on this. Let's get that ketchup back up there, because God forbid I don't have a swig of this that doesn't have delicious tomato ketchup in it. Okay, last time I had ketchup and booze, it wasn't very good. We all got drunk and did shots of ketchup because we were 22 and out of drugs.
Alright, here goes.
Messy.
It's the bite of the chicken immediately.
Well, it needs more rum.
Funny story, actually. I remember back in the day learning about Crystal Pepsi from him, mostly because he never stopped talking about it. It was kind of an ongoing joke, but also real passion/obsession that he had over Crystal Pepsi. And so by the time 2015 came around and the LA Beast managed to actually get Crystal Pepsi to come back for a short time, it was pretty funny seeing Brad's reaction to finally getting to, after all that build-up, having Pepsi themselves send him a case for free with a written letter thanking him for his dedication to the effort, to see that reaction and payoff, I suppose.
I really did dig this drink, and I was sad that it was gone. That still smells like Crystal Pepsi. Alright, let's go ahead and do this. That's alright. I'm kidding. It's delicious. Good. My memory works. It tastes like Crystal Pepsi. You know, I almost just don't want to say anything. I almost just kind of want to do what I've been wanting to do for 22, 23 years and just kind of sit and savor it and just be like, my work here is done, and beam myself up to my home planet, Earth. I want to go beam back to Chatham, Illinois.
I also distinctly remember the video where he tried a bunch of different strange sodas, and one in particular was called Nazi Soda, or Nazi Cola perhaps, which was like pure white or super clear looking, and it apparently, according to him, tasted just like Crystal Pepsi, which made him make several jokes about how maybe the Nazis weren't so bad, eh? You know, that sort of thing. It's one of those videos that I really wish I could see again, but sadly, it would appear that many of the earliest videos in the Brad Tries content catalog are lost media, as far as I was able to tell anyway. I tried looking for them, but had no luck, unfortunately. There's actually quite a lot of lost media surrounding Cinema Snob and Brad's stuff in general, unfortunately. unfortunately. This is mostly due to the blip shutdown event, sadly destroying most of his content catalog. And while many of the Cinema Snob episodes from way back when have been saved and there is an Internet Archive page, thankfully, which has most of those episodes documented. I don't think people were as passionate about the Brad Tries series since it was probably seen as more incidental sort of content, and so I'm pretty sure all that stuff is lost forever unless some sort of crazy fool happened to save them all and would like to contact me about that, or post it on the Internet Archive or something cool like that. The long shot, but I'm willing to take it, is also why all of his earliest videos you will not find on his current YouTube channel either. There's like 10 years worth of videos that just are nowhere officially on YouTube, but instead on the Internet Archive, sadly. Another show that Brad did quite often was midnight screenings, where he and sometimes a friend or family member, etc., would basically do an off-the-cuff review in his car right after seeing a brand new movie in the theaters.
We're going to try to make it too. There's actually two of them going on tonight. We were at Priest. We went to Priest and we sent Jared to Bridesmaids. I don't know if this is happening in any other cities around the world, but
I still can't figure why is there even a screening of Bridesmaids going on at midnight? Who was going to be there? It's like Jared and probably like no one.
That one couple that was sitting with him.
Yeah. Well, there's also another midnight of Thor tonight too. So we sent Jared to Bridesmaids. He's not here right now because his movie's a half hour longer than ours. Ours is a solid 87 minutes long. And if you take out the credits and the slow motion, we're probably looking at a 75 minute
like
movie.
at least a 75 minute.
Priest sucked. Wow, this movie is a huge R.L. Stein fan.
I was gonna say, like, you know, it's definitely Goosebumps because it's not scary. It's not that funny. It's not that scary, and it really thinks it's funny and scary.
Yeah.
And it loves sucking its own dick.
Okay, we're out of the 415 show of Spy Kids 4D, All the Time in the World. This is what I've been doing to you also?
This has been my fucking summer for your fucking website, has been me watching all of this fucking shit. So yes, this has been my summer. This is what you have done to me. Was it great? Was it everything you fucking hoped it would be?
It was again a pretty basic format, but was another chance to see his takes on more current stuff as it was releasing. It, like Brad Tries, remained a mainstay alongside the Cinema Snob show to this very day, because while they are again simple concepts for web shows, they were also some of the very first to be doing it. And while I can't be 100% sure he was the first guy to ever do the video format where you're sitting in a car after just having seen a new movies in the theaters to give a basic review or reaction to the camera, I will say that there are many that were no doubt very inspired from his video series, as it's still a format that is done to this very day. Now, I could go through several episodes of the Cinema Snob and review them as a whole, but to be honest, I don't think that would prove to be very fruitful this time around, as while others I've covered have had skits or entire storylines going on in their shows, or in the Nostalgia Chick's case, a very different but consistent approach to how she went about reviewing films for the time, Cinema Snob never did that as much, from what I could tell, having watched through several of his reviews through the years. I mean, there were skits once in a while, for sure, but on the whole, it was not nearly as common from what I could tell with him. There were some examples of him doing collabs though, and in those cases, those reviews might be more skit heavy, like in the case of the Passion of the Christ review, which is currently his most viewed video on the channel, which features Doug Walker as the nostalgia critic, as well as Rob Walker as the Santa Christ, and, well, I suppose I can just show you a clip or two from some of those skits.
North Jerusalem. As you can see, just as beautiful as any magical land, where the trees are made of mint leaves and the grass is as sweet as candy cigarettes.
Funny. Looks sorta like where we come from.
Oh, really? And where do you hail from? Israel? Egypt? Oh, little Chinatown of Bethlehem?
The Midwest.
Haha, yes, beautiful Detroit. Now,
Don't know about what. The Passion of the Christ. I don't know if this is such a good idea. It's a great idea. It's been 11 years since this movie came out. No one cares about the Passion controversy anymore. Right now, they're too busy being mad at pixels.
Yeah, but I feel like this could reignite the controversy. I'm just starting to get much less dog shit after my Man of Steel review.
Well, take that as a compliment. Maybe they were sending you dog shit because they agree with you that the movie is dog shit.
I'm about to get a lot more dog shit after the Passion of the Christ now.
But on the whole, Cinema Snob reviews are structured far more like nostalgia critic episodes, if they almost never had skits in them. And for many this is actually a plus, as a consistent form of criticism of Doug Walker's show is its overabundance of skits and stuff taking away from the main movie review. Now personally, I would argue that at this point, Doug's skits are kind of part of the package of his channel and his reviews. If you're going into his videos thinking that there's not going to be extended skits at this point, then you really only have yourself to blame for not understanding what you're getting into. But all the same, this has made many people come to appreciate Brad's Snob show a lot over the years, as it's far more focused on the actual review and commentary of the film. Also, while Doug is far more theatrical, Brad is a lot more reserved. I guess what I'm saying is, if the movies they are reviewing are like their targets, and they are the assassins, Doug often takes a bazooka and 10 pounds of dynamite approach to kill them, while Brad sort of slyly stabs them with a dagger into their guts and twists it, maybe occasionally going for their face if he feels like it. But on the whole, I would say both have their benefits and negatives, and both can be quite entertaining in their own way. Anywho, for that reason, I've decided it would be far more interesting to use our time now to instead take a deeper look into something very few have ever taken the time to really discuss or analyze on YouTube or beyond. That being both of Brad's Cinema Snob films. Yes, that's right. In case you didn't know, Brad actually made 2 films based on the Cinema Snob character. Well, everyone remembers Kickassia, or the Linkara film, or the Spoonie movie that never was. I pretty much never hear anyone talk about Brad's takes on not just 1, but 2 fucking films based on the Snob. And, I mean, I'll fully admit, until doing research for this retrospective, I had never seen them either. So I suppose it's time we find out together what they're all about and if they're any good. Are they gem or coal? Let's see. Yo, did you know that the next part of this retrospective is already out on my Patreon page? That's right, another 2-hour video on That Guy with the Glasses lore is waiting for you if you'd like to go watch it early and support the channel while you're at it, for as low as $5 a month. Or you can just buy the video as a one-time purchase if you prefer, again for just $5. Making these videos full-time when I'm a one-man team doing all the research, writing, recording, editing, and all that other stuff to make these big multi-hour things can be very time-consuming and tedious work. And to keep it straight with you, YouTube is just simply not very reliable for income sometimes. So if even just a couple of you become patrons or buy my videos early, it really does help me out in the long haul. You can also get the same stuff through becoming a channel member, again for $5 if you prefer that. Or if you can't do any of that stuff, then all the same, thank you so much for watching this video, and if you like my stuff, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit that hype button, which are all free ways that you can help me out. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all of my channel members and patrons, including all of my night eggs and my night owlets, as well as a special thank you to all of my great night owls, including Patrick Basteman, Emil Ranoff, Fujoshi Cake, Anon, X-Maniac Hannah, Spark Saturn 1731, and ATB Enjoyer, as well as a specialized thank you to all of my arch owls, including the bold Big Mango, the stunning Somber Devonte 06, the lovely Leanne Loves Christ, the very cute cat pick Yudi Renez, and the daring Dark Pro Fox. Thank you all so very, very much. But with that, let's get back to the show. Released on September 27th of 2012, the Cinema Snob movie is what else but an origin story for the Snob character. The movie follows Craig Golightly, which is apparently the name of the Cinema Snob. If you're a little confused, since I already told you his name is Brad Jones, the thing you gotta understand is the Cinema Snob movie kind of establishes a rather interesting piece of lore about the Cinema Snob show. That he is more than just a persona for Brad, but that he is also his own character with his own story completely separated from Brad. This is kind of important because in the future, when we were talking about the collab films like Kickassia or Suburban Nights, this lore is also technically true for those as well. So that technically means Brad Jones is playing the character of the Cinema Snob, and the Cinema Snob is a character that the character Craig Golightly is playing, which Brad Jones is also by extension playing. It's not that confusing once you just realize it's just Brad playing, like, technically this whole character as a whole. But it is rather unique in that most of these characters that people play, if you were to ask them, hey, what's your real name? What's the Nostalgia Critic's real name? I'm pretty sure their answer would either just be Doug Walker or just the Critic. Like, that's just it. So it is kind of unique that Brad decided to make it its own separate thing, away from himself. Anywho, Craig Golightly is an exploitation film writer who is looking for funding for his newest film project, Black Angus. However, he's had no luck getting funding for this project, and from the start of the movie, we see him approach this dude, Mr. Dan Phillips, to pitch his movie, but is ultimately turned down as Dan sees funding such a product as beneath him, and that there's no real money in it.
What's the movie about?
Okay. African-American man in the 1970s. His parents are butchered by a crooked roller derby owner, and his sister is forced into prostitution. The only way to get revenge is to be one badass, double-handed, shotgun-wielding, roller-skating, disco-dancing motherfucker with the DNA of Tony Manero, Fred Williamson, and Truck Turner combined.
You have a title for this film?
Black Angus.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No, it's good. It's really good. It's like Mean Johnny Barrows meets Roller Boogie.
This leads to Craig and his friend and fellow filmmaker slash usual director of his films, Neil, to go drink over their troubles as they try to think about how they're going to get this movie made.
He didn't think it was a great idea back then, and guess what? He still doesn't think it's a great idea. So what the fuck makes you think he's a snob?
He's an artsy-fartsy douchebag. Alright? You just need to find that one exploitation that clicks with him. You gotta Tarantino his taste. You gotta find that kind of blood, guts, and tits that he'll enjoy.
Why do we have to go through this fucking guy, Neil?
You're the writer. I'm the tech guy. And as the tech guy, I have to inform you that you cannot film a movie like Black Angus without a little help from the upper class.
Eventually, Neil suggests that they talk to an old friend of theirs, who's super rich at this point, named Gene, who just so happens to be played by Noah Antweiler, to help fund their project. Craig thinks it's a long shot, but after talking to Gene, he is actually convinced that Black Angus sounds like a great idea, with one stipulation. He asks them if they actually know any black people to star in this blaxploitation film, which they realize that they don't.
So, just one more question, and this is going to be personal, but do you guys even know any black people at all? You do want the character playing Black Angus to be black, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
So, who do you know who's black?
We don't actually know any black people.
Oh, we're not racist.
No,
we just...
It's okay, fellas. I know who can help. Just follow me.
So Gene gets them set up with this one dude, known as Vladimir Jackson, to play Black Angus. And everything seems to be going their way, until it turns out that Vlad is an actor who actually works under Dan Phillips, or maybe Dan Phillips is his agent, I guess. And Dan catches wind that one of his actors is being a part of Craig Golightly's Black Angus film. And so he immediately puts a stop to this by offering Vlad a role in a different film called Black Beauty for $1 million, stealing him away from Craig. And furthermore, Dan is also the leader of the local film board in Illinois, and notes how they cannot legally film at any of the places that they have planned to without a permit from his board, and that there is no way he would allow them to get that permit.
You have no actor. You also have no permits.
This is Central Illinois. Who uses permits?
Oh, everyone. When someone like me complains. You see, to shoot anything in this county, you need the permission of the local film board, which I happen to run. With no permits, you cannot legally exhibit your movie.
Fuck! He's Billy Zabka-ing us.
No, I'm spadering you. If I was Zebking you, I'd be threatening you and beating the shit out of you. No, spadering is much more sleazy and bureaucratic.
I really don't like you.
Good day, gentlemen.
Defeated, Craig, Neil, and Gene meet back up again to talk about the whole situation, and once again try to problem solve, but ended up getting pretty drunk in the process. One thing I do want to note early on now is that Noah does a great job of his acting here, playing Gene, and always manages to kind of eat up every scene that he's in.
You know who could help us out with this?
Fucking Gene.
Yeah, assholes. I'm still here. It's nice to see you want my help so badly that you forget I'm sitting right across from you. But the truth is, there's only so much I can do.
You could buy this city if you wanted to, Gene. You could put the shakedown of some snooty film snobs.
Put the shakedown? What am I gonna do? Tape over their copies of Days of Heaven with the Jerry Lewis marathon?
I don't think these guys use tapes anymore.
So that option is out.
I wasn't offering that as an actual suggestion, but nice that you turned it down anyway. Look, I'm gonna be honest, guys. Last time I butted heads with this film commission, they sent my sister an audition notice. Next thing you know, she's auditioning for Springfield's first $1 million hardcore porno.
Jesus.
What happened? Did she get the hell out of there?
What, are you kidding? She's now the highest paid STAG actress in Vegas. Really, it was a blessing in disguise, I guess. I mean, they wanted to insult me, but now she rivals what I bring in a year. I honestly don't know if it was worth it knowing what's been done to her ass, but still.
Holy shit, man. So anyway, they end up getting drunk, order pizza with anchovies, since that's something that they've never had apparently. And in that moment, Craig comes up with a brilliant idea before falling asleep. But the next morning, Craig relays his plan to Neil. If he can't get permits from the film board, what if he joins the film board himself? He could go in disguise under a new persona, sort of becoming an undercover, pretentious film snob, and slowly but surely gaining the board's trust and confidence in him, before he eventually convinces them to give him permits for his own film, selling it to them as an art house piece or something of that sort.
So you get in with these people, you get cozy, everything's Nick and Nora. What then?
I tell them that I'm financing an art film about the plight of African Americans in 1970s small-town USA, and we need permits. Why wouldn't they give them to us? They don't want to look like racists, do they?
Wow, you're really gonna do it. Can you even act?
Dude, I'm a writer. How many times have I convinced you to direct my shitty scripts?
Several. But none of them has ever been made. Okay, Tootsie, but first things first. The fuck are you gonna wear?
Thus, Craig ends up cutting his totally not fake hair and beard off, and becoming the iconic looking Cinema Snob that we all know and love. Though he's not really sure if they're gonna buy it or not, especially when Dan sees him, he's pretty sure he's not gonna be convinced. But he takes a chance with it anyway, and finds that the place is full of rather strange and pretentious characters, and that Dan is actually convinced of his new persona, not suspecting that he is Craig at all.
You must be new here.
Beg pardon?
It's just that we've never seen you at one of these meetings.
Yeah, she must have needed somewhere to turn when those damn chipmunks did so well at the box office.
First conversation, and I'm actually in agreement.
The name's Derek Silver. This is my wife, Candy.
Candy goes to Hollywood.
Beg pardon?
Nothing.
So, what's your name?
Dawn. Vincent Dawn.
Pleasure to meet you, Vincent Dawn.
Nice name.
You like that one? I think it's pretty cool.
No telling what you could sell with a name like that.
Oh, I could probably give a hint.
Oh, he would he?
Yes. I, for one, have no problem belonging to a club that would have someone like me for a member.
I see. And your name is?
Vincent Dawn?
Dan Phillips. Welcome aboard.
Really?
The more the merrier, Vincent. Too many of today's youth are obsessed with fart jokes, needless violence, and horror movies. It takes a man of true taste and character to join our little film preservation club. And what better night to join than on Being John Malkovich night?
What?
Oh, you will love this, Vincent. We watch Being John Malkovich, and then we pause the movie every time we want to talk about something symbolic that happens.
So this meeting could go all night then.
We usually bring sleeping bags.
Don't worry, I always bring an extra.
I'm sure you do. Eh?
The snob finds that everyone there is rather insufferable, however, as he expected, but notices that Dan's wife, Nancy, seems completely uninterested in the movie talk either, and Craig has a bit of an interesting interaction with her outside when taking a smoke break.
I'm Nancy.
Kurt Vincent.
Kurt Vincent. Interesting.
Just Vincent.
Okay, just Vincent. You gonna say why you're here?
I just love the word Malkovich spoken 100 times in a single scene.
Right on, man.
I should get back. Maybe they've gotten past the production logo.
We're lucky.
At any rate, by the end of the night, Craig heads home, and after talking about how much that sucked, he then notes how they told him that as a new member, he would need to bring over a film for them to discuss together next time. This causes Craig to panic a bit, as he doesn't really want to come off as too stereotypical and have his act blown, but he also doesn't want to pick something that they hate and risk being kicked out, which leads him to choosing fucking Salo, 120 Days of Sodom, which is both very fucked up and a gross film. But at the same time, he is confident that he could bullshit his way through convincing them that this film was actually true art, and that it may even help warm them up to the ideas that he has going for his own film in the future. So he shows them the movie and then proceeds to do just that.
Oh, it's Salo, the 120 Days of Sodom, and it's by Pierre Pasolini.
You know, I loved his Arabian Nights, but I've never seen this film.
Well then, we should be in for a real treat, I should say. Hi, Arch Keating, Pasolini enthusiast. Though I must say, his Canterbury Tales just has a smidge more depth than Arabian Nights.
Yes. Arabian Nights was more like Arabian Days.
Now, this man knows what I'm talking about.
I do?
Stick with me, Vincent. You'll come around.
Am I missing something?
Although,
I think we should all thank Mr. Don for exposing us to this masterpiece of 70s filmmaking. I could say that this is the anti-happiness, the anti-joy, the true look at sadism with lovely landscaping. But I won't do that. I think it should be Vincent. Vincent should come up here and tell us how we should feel about Salo. You brought the movie to us, Vincent. Now come on up here and dish out some sallow.
Sure, I guess I can squeeze out some sallow. Okay. You can't really talk about sallow without first talking about the shit, for lack of a better word. Shit. Now, this could be excused as just, hey, we're gonna show a bunch of shit eating on film, and because it's made by a highly acclaimed director, it'll be seen as something other than pure exploitation. Now, what those people don't understand is that the shit is a metaphor. It's not to be taken literally. The shit represents our dependency and addiction to the eating and consuming of mass-produced foods. Just as its indictment on the human body is a metaphor for the commercialization of sex. The shit in this scene goes to show that we are so dependent on factory foods that we might as well eat shit, because our body is also a factory.
After all that talk of shit, Craig talks to Nancy again, and it's clear that there is a bit of chemistry between them, and she ends up calling him out as she sees right through his act, knowing that he is lying about who he really is. So Craig risks it all and tells her who he really is and why he's here to begin with. She thinks that that's pretty cool and promises not to blow his cover. And it's at this point, after this scene, that at the 51-minute mark, we then get the first real twist of this movie. It's a slasher film, too. I suppose that's not too big of a surprise given Brad's love for slasher films, but honestly, I'm all here for it, even if I, truth be told, was not expecting it going into this. So anyway, one of the pretentious film critics / board members ends up getting brutally murdered, which then becomes a bit of a mystery and structure for the rest of the movie, as more and more critics are bumped off, and it becomes a murder mystery of who is doing all these killings and for what reason, with Craig, or the Snob now, caught in the middle as a potential target.
I'm sure you've all heard by now the tragic news our very own Arch Keating brought down in the prime of his criticism. Police responded to a call from his house. The paperboy rode up, as he does every morning, only to find Arch with a knife gouged into his spleen. But that wasn't all. They also found that a bat, wrapped in barbed wire, had been shoved up his ass, all the way till it came out his mouth, shattering his teeth and ripping open his lips.
Oh my fucking god!
It's pretty good stuff. However, right after hearing about this stuff and going to take a cigarette break, Snob is pulled aside by two detectives, looking for any info surrounding the killing, or if he knows anything.
Snob.
Yeah?
Wow, looky there. He knows what he is.
Snob, alright. Can I help you guys?
Detective Ted Adams. This is my partner, Kelso.
Out for an evening stroll?
I think we're supposed to ask you that. Sorry to hear about your friend, huh?
I met him once. That was it. It was getting kinda weird in there. Thought I might get some air.
Yeah, murder's a weird thing, especially one filled with such grizzled hatred as your friend Arch's. His asshole looked like SpaghettiOs when they pulled the bat out.
Oh, why are you telling me this? That's really disgusting.
Just trying to get to know you fellas a little bit. You know, gauging your reactions.
Okay, so how's my reaction?
Well, I don't think you'll be eating the rest of the night, Mr. Dawn.
But just as they were really pressing into him and trying to pull him more and more into this stuff, Nancy drives up and takes him out to a bar, where they then drink and sort of talk about different exploitation film stuff.
Dan Phillips, huh?
You say that like you know him.
I do know him.
How so? How do you know my husband?
Your husband is the key to finishing a project I'm working on. All of this getup, these glasses that are so not my prescription, It's to get on Dan's good side so he can give us some permits that we need. I've never been married. My longest relationship lasted a few months.
Why did that end?
She made it 10 minutes into Caligula before she assumed I was gonna stick my fist up her ass.
Hey, some girls like that. If I had a guy come up to me and say Caligula was his favorite movie, I'd say, where have you been all my life, and can I stick a flower up your ass?
Some more shots for the road.
God, it must kill you to be a part of that film club.
Hey, if it means Black Angus will have his day, then it's worth every fucking thin red line I have to sit through.
You speak too soon. Next week, they're gonna watch Thin Red Line in slow motion to break down each individual piece of Woody Harrelson's ass that gets blown off.
I'm sorry, it's been a while since I've seen that. Woody Harrelson gets his ass blown off?
Indeed it does, sir. You haven't seen an ass pounding that hard since Dahmer.
Well, what makes an exploitation girl go for such a pretentious dork?
I don't know, Craig. Kind of going for you. Are you a pretentious dork?
Hey, I'm a geek. A geek that argues Fulci and Argento, not Lean and Altman.
You know they're nerds when you can't understand half the fucking shit they're saying. Meanwhile, one of the other critics is busy being a peeping Tom and jerking off to some woman getting undressed, and ends up getting killed for it as well, getting a cell phone jammed right into his eye socket.
Thank you for picking up my phone. Wait. Is that... Are you...
This leads into more questioning by the detectives, as well as Dan and the film board being really, weird about the whole thing. In particular, the wife of the guy who was murdered happened to have been cheating with the other guy who was also murdered, and is also now coming on to, Craig as well. So I guess she got over it pretty quickly.
They're not painting a very good picture of your husband.
Even an ugly picture can still sell for $1 million.
Well, if I had $1 million, I'm sure Derek would look great on my wall.
You're very funny, Vincent. I like you.
Yeah, I've been getting that a lot lately.
Dan by this point is also getting rather suspicious that his wife is spending so much time with a new member of the film board.
Aw, you're so sweet to me, Dan.
Nancy,
Yeah,
you didn't go out to meet anyone.
Arch is dead, Dan. Kind of disturbing. I needed some quiet time.
You missed my speech about death in the movies.
I'm sure I'll hear it again the next time 3 celebrities die within days of each other.
It's all getting rather complicated, it would seem. Something Craig and Neil talk about as they try to figure out what the hell is going on. And Neil kind of joking that this would make for a better film at this point than whatever Black Angus ends up being. And that maybe he should be making a documentary about all this by now. Nancy goes to visit Craig and she notes which people are the most likely candidates of who the killer might be. And so they sort of go investigating 2 of the other film board members. One who's sitting alone in a park, and we get this rather bizarre interaction with.
What's your name?
Chester.
Hi, Chester. I'm Nancy. This over here is Vincent.
I know. You're the 2 sleeping together behind Dan's back.
Oh, we're not actually
You can keep a secret, right?
Probably. I don't say anything anyway.
So, why'd you join this club?
I like watching black and white art films where people have sex with Jesus.
What?
It's kind of my thing. This way I can see it out in the open amongst other people and no one will judge me.
What kind of films do you people watch?
And the other one also leading to a extremely bizarre interaction, as well as a murder.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. This is so hard to find time to clean when I'm too busy thinking about last week's topic.
Yeah, that was a good one, right?
Oh yeah, I'll honestly never eat shit the same way again. You guys have shown me the light. I used to see all the mainstream movies week after week, and I would give them 5 stars across the board. They were there to entertain me. It was so nice of them. And the only way I could thank them was to return the favor and give them the highest ratings in the book. I was a film critic at the time, I got fired for giving 5 stars to the Omega Code, but damn it, I'm standing by that rating. I found entertainment and a new religion. Thank God I have you guys to let me know it's okay to dislike certain movies.
What was your name again?
Well,
Shit! Craig and Nancy, fresh off of the sight of seeing the death of this dude right in front of them, the blood splatter more than likely still freshly on them, then head back to Craig's place and, have sex. Ah, I see, but of course. And Nancy's tits are even shown on screen, which I will, spare you from seeing. But it was, like a flashbang. Seeing that on the YouTube re-upload of this movie for sure. Anywho, speeding things along a bit, Neil is convinced that the person killing everyone is actually more than likely Nancy, which Craig thinks is crazy at this point, since they saw someone get murdered together. But Neil reminds him that he also needs to hurry up and get that permit for the film from Dan before there is no fucking board left to get a permit from. And so Craig goes in to do just that. And he ends up just revealing who he really is. That he is Craig and that he's been playing a character this whole time. And Dan is honestly more impressed by that than anything. And after a conversation, he is finally convinced to let Craig make his movie and get him those permits. And that he might even be part of it and fund some of the project himself.
What?
Really?
Got me fooled.
So all I had to do was put on some glasses and slick back my hair, and that was enough to trick you?
I honestly don't think about you that much, Craig. Maybe you should spend more time on your screenwriting skills instead of following me.
Look, the only reason I dressed this way was to get in good with you people so we could get our movie made.
So you thought showing us a shit-eating film was going to help your cause?
You liked it.
It was artsy. Felt I had to like it.
However, predictably, after this good news, Dan is then murdered like the other critics. Quickly after, it's determined by the police that it was Nancy who was behind both his death as well as the others, and so she is ushered away by the detectives, much to Craig's anger and dismay.
He's fucking dead?
Consider yourself lucky, Mr. Golightly. She suffocated her husband with a plastic bag and forced a live snake down his throat.
No, I didn't. I'm freaking terrified of snakes.
Officers, she was with me. She was with me when John Doe was shot with an arrow. She was standing right at my side. We saw it happen. The arrow came from right outside the window.
We found her fingerprints in the apartment, Craig. We didn't find yours anywhere.
Did you not touch anything?
I don't know. I guess not.
Look, you don't have to cover for her anymore. Just be glad she didn't take a meat cleaver to your testicles.
So Craig calls Gene for help with all his money and resources, and Gene does try and help.
Do you know anybody inside the police force?
I have a videotape of the sheriff banging Tracy Lords in 1985. I have no problems getting favors from the police force.
Look, find out some more details about this case. Maybe there's some things about Nancy that we're not seeing. So now you're starting to suspect her. No, but maybe there's a jealous ex-boyfriend or another ex-husband. I don't know, something.
The Sea of Love twist. I'll see what I can find out.
Good. Neil, I need you to do me a favor. Go to Nancy's, look around for some evidence, talk to neighbors. You're a director. Be manipulative. You think you can do that?
Craig, I really don't care all that much about this situation.
And you also shouldn't care about getting caught snooping through houses. What's it to you?
True, I could pay a fine. Whatever. What are you gonna do?
I'm gonna go talk to Kelso and Adams.
Meanwhile, Neil and Vlad, with Vlad deciding that he's literally Black Angus for some reason, goes out to investigate to find out who is really behind all these murders. And they even waterboard some random woman. I don't even know why they did that, but they did that.
What do you want? What do you want? I told the cops everything.
I'm sorry, baby, but once you've been interrogated black, you can never go back. On your word.
Isn't this a little drastic?
I know what I'm doing. God damn it, Neil, what have you two been doing?
How did you know I was...
Because you're leaving a paper trail all over the city. I got the mayor crawling up my ass because 2 of my men are waterboarding poor innocent women.
Good one, Vlad. The bitch squealed on us.
Because she knows she gonna get some good punishment for that one.
However, in the midst of all this, Snob gets a call from Nancy, who is actually being held captive now as a ploy to get the Snob to also head to that address, but the true killer.
Yeah?
Craig, who likely?
Mystery voice?
Shut up! There's someone here I think you should talk to.
Help me, Craig!
What the fuck?
Don't talk yet. There's a safe at the Phillips residence under the bed. It contains $26,000. Stuff it into an envelope.
Are you calling from Candy's phone?
That doesn't matter.
Is this Candy?
Does this sound like Candy?
I can't tell. You don't even sound human.
When you found the money, call this number back. No tricks, no police. I smell anything fishy, your girlfriend's dead. You show up without the money, the girl's dead, and you're dead.
All of this for $26,000?
Bye, Craig.
Son of a bitch!
Craig goes there, tries to sneak in, but ends up getting captured himself fairly quickly. It's then revealed who the killer behind all these film board murders really was. It's the fat detective dude. But what was his motive for doing all this, you may ask? Well...
Surprised?
No, not really. Knew it had to have been someone I met before. So it's you.
You're about 2,000 short on the money.
What do you even need that for anyway?
I'm going somewhere nice. France, maybe.
If you're looking to get away from film snobs, good luck with that one.
It wasn't about the money, Craig. It was just an escape. See, now we have your fingerprints all over the safe. The exploitation filmmaker's so butthurt that this tiny little club wouldn't let him make his piece of shit movie. So he goes crazy, infiltrates the group, sleeps with the president's wife, and steals all their money. Only the guilt gets to him. So he kills his sweet fuck of a girlfriend, and then he decides to kill himself. Right in the head.
Are you sure? Are you sure I didn't shove a loofah up my ass afterwards?
Okay, maybe I got a little carried away.
Why are you telling me this? I'll be dead. What do I care what you're gonna do to me afterwards? It can't be any worse than when my parents find my box of short films we shot in high school. I'm gonna regret asking this, but why the fuck did you kill those people?
You might remember my father, Dex McKenzie.
I'm sorry, I don't.
Directed Birds of the Bronx, 1984. Mutant birds on the loose in New York City. It was a fun flick. Clunky dialogue, but you want that kind of thing. The critics tore it apart. They laughed it off the screen. It wasn't just that they thought it was bad, but they judged it on merits that Birds of the Bronx shouldn't have been judged on! Bad acting? Who cares? Preposterous storyline? That's the point! Too much gore? It's a gore film! My father just wanted to make a fun movie. That's all it had to be. Fun. But my father couldn't take it. The critics saw to it that he'd never direct a B picture again. So one night he pours himself a drink and then BANG! No Birds of the Bronx 2.
Look, I agree with you, Ted.
That's so.
Yeah, it's stupid. A pretentious critic will usually look for some deeper meaning in something that's not supposed to have deep meaning. But your dad could have made more films. Look at Joe D'Amato. He never made a critically acclaimed film in his life, and he made hundreds of movies.
Yeah, but my dad cared. He cared what people thought of him.
If you're gonna do exploitation, you need to have thicker skin. I am not one of those guys who would have judged your dad's movie on the same merits as The Godfather.
Yeah, but none of you fuckers ever did anything about it. All the cinema snobs and the gore hounds and the indie freaks bitch week after week. Why aren't there any good movies anymore? How come there isn't any good exploitation? What happened to all the art films? Why aren't more people going to see my $5 million crime picture? Transformers, #1 at the box office. Tyler Perry, Medea's big fat shit, #1 at the box office. The fucking Chipmunks made over $100 million!
However, before Snob and Nancy are killed, Black Angus and Neil come to save the day. Or, I guess not. The Snob then grabs the gun and goes to take down the killer himself, as they have a, truth be told, rather anticlimactic showdown, where the murderer kind of just steps out from behind a tree and gets shot up and killed. Not sure what his game plan was there, but good on you for trying, I guess. Which then causes the Snob to pull this punchy one-liner.
I just killed a man.
The film ends with Craig deciding that he actually kind of enjoyed playing out his role of the Cinema Snob, and decides that he'd like to continue doing it through some form or another, which would ultimately lead into the Cinema Snob show. And that's the plot of the Cinema Snob movie. And honestly, it was pretty decent. It's not breaking any new ground or nothing, but considering how YouTuber movies tend to be some of the most vile cringe at times, or the most boring ass shit ever conceived, this one was weirdly pretty entertaining, and didn't really have any dull spots in it. I think it's because despite the movie having a murder mystery element to it, it feels a little lower stakes than many YouTuber films. It also feels like some genuine thought went into the writing and characterization of some of these characters. It also feels like both a love letter to schlocky exploitation / slasher films, but also the writing in general for most of the characters and conversations either feels pretty natural or at least is, again, interesting or entertaining enough to keep you watching. I think it's also the angle that was taken here for the film that works out so well too. That being that the Cinema Snob character is canonically a character even in his own lore, which kind of allowed us to really see not only what the greater joke behind the series is, but also rather than it just being Brad Jones, there is a character behind the persona as well. One that is no doubt quite similar to the real life Brad Jones in Craig Golightly, but is still distinctly his own entity as well, and I think kind of helps humanize the character a lot more. It allowed him to also be a straight man in a world of kind of bizarre people, while pretending to be a part of their world. I also found much of the atmosphere of this movie to be strangely cozy, nostalgic even, which is kind of strange because I had never seen this movie before, and yet it felt oddly familiar. And my only guess as to why is that maybe it's just my own nostalgia for That Guy with the Glasses.com peeps in general, but I don't know. I just generally enjoyed the film quite a bit. Was it perfect? Certainly not though. And if I were to be a little more serious with an analytical eye, I could point out how none of the main scenario makes that much sense, of how he's able to fool Dan, or how Dan's later approval of his project feels kind of out of character and out of nowhere. And then even just the idea that Craig needs a permit from what amounts to some snotty film club feels a little bit contrived in how it operates, I guess, but it does work as a means for getting things going and for the humor that comes with it later. The finale does also feel a little bit rushed, and in a weird way, I almost think it would have been more interesting if Nancy was the serial killer because she was so into exploitation films and stuff, and I don't know, maybe it would have been like a weird reflection of himself as a character and what have you. But does any of this ruin the film outright? Nah, not at all to be honest. It's a low budget movie about an origin story of an internet personality. The most I could really hope for is for it to at least be funny and entertaining, which sadly is a bar that is quite often missed by most of these sorts of movies. But Brad, if nothing else, does know how to write good dialogue and stay consistent in that front. I know most have never seen this film for themselves, mostly because very few have ever heard of the fact that there was a Cinema Snob movie. Hell, I even remember that in like one of the only reviews back in the day where the Snob had characters or references to the film in the main series. A lot of people were super confused what the extended skits of that episode were all about, including me back then, not knowing that it was all connected to a movie that not many people saw, I guess. But I do nonetheless recommend it if it sounds up your alley, or if you're a fan of old internet personality history and what have you. Which, odds are, if you're watching this video, then I already know that you are. Don't try to deny it, you've already sat through about an hour of this. Now go watch the movie, bitch. Okay, so the first Cinema Snob film was pretty good. Alright, but then what about the second one? Is it any good? Is it better or worse than the first film? So before I get into this one, I do feel like I should note that unlike the first film, this one was actually crowdfunded on Indiegogo, with a goal back then of $50,000, which it not only got, but it surpassed, with it reaching over $67,000 in total. Secondly, in prep for this film, Brad actually made a two-part Cinema Snob review of the first movie that he made, and while most of it is just kind of the usual commentary that you would expect, I do quite like this moment near the start of the review where he notes the real reason that he started doing the Cinema Snob.
In the grand tradition of if it exists, it can have an origin story, in 2012 we got the Cinema Snob movie. Because we needed a 130-minute movie to explain the backstory of a guy who talks about movies on the internet. You want to know the real origin story? I had a lot of free time one day. The end.
In the lead up to this movie getting made, Brad also made several videos and live streams and behind the scenes stuff to kind of update people regarding his progress, as well as what the vision that he had for the sequel was. With all that said, by the time the actual film came out on July 26th of 2019, unlike the first film, which had, for one of these sort of films, pretty high scores on, say, IMDb of around 7, this one seems to have gotten far more polarizing reviews over there, with it being a 5 instead. Not that this necessarily matters in the long run, but it did get me interested in why there was, in particular, so many 1-star reviews on this movie, and yet so few actual reviews of the film. Like, there's only one review on IMDb, like, written one. Was it because this one was just that much more bad than the first? Or had it rustled some feathers in a way? Well, I kind of think I know the answer, but I suppose there is only one way to find out. The plot, as the IMDb page notes, quote, having portrayed the popular YouTube character the Cinema Snob for many years, Craig Golightly is set to release an original film all his own to theaters. When the film is laughed off the screen and flops, Craig and Neil Hall, the film's drunken director, set out across the country, 1970s road film style, with 2 other YouTube celebrities, an eccentric musician and a gamer going through a controversy, on a quest to save their careers at the hands of Craig's father, a powerful former TV executive, unquote. So yeah, 2 things stick out to me here. Obviously, there's the continued continuity of the Craig Golightly character, and the fact that this one is also a road trip movie, which isn't a bad thing on the surface, mind you, but with the addition of the 2 other new characters, it is, truth be told, giving me slight AVGN movie vibes from the offset, and if you know me, that's not a great vibe to be having, but having actually seen the whole movie myself, I can say for sure that I do think that another Cinema Snob movie is better than the AVGN movie, in my opinion. But it's also a movie that I feel can only really be appreciated or understood within the very meta context as a YouTuber movie set amongst a sea of other YouTuber movies, as well as the context of some of the controversies that were happening with Channel Awesome in that particular point in time, with the amount of people who happen to be aware of all this meta context amounting to, probably not a lot of people, if I'm gonna be honest. Now, to be clear, when I say controversies with Channel Awesome at the time, I am referring to the Change the Channel incident, a drama that is frankly far too large to cover right now. We will be discussing it in full later on in this retrospective when we have covered more of the key players within that drama. But just know that at the time, there was a lot of people accusing several other people connected with the site of everything from heinous shit to really dumb minor petty shit. How much of any of that was true or false? That remains to be seen and to be discussed later on. But what's important to take away from that right now is that idea that everyone, evidence or no, suddenly started turning on Doug Walker and many of the other creators of the site at the time, with some of the creators also turning on each other as, well, several of the creators were sort of the ones that started the entire drama to begin with. However, Brad remained loyal to Doug Walker through all of that. And understanding that context, you can really feel that, not only in the review scores of this film, as while it's probably realistically a 6 out of 10 movie, sure, it's also, in my opinion, not a 1 out of 10 movie. But if you're the sort of person to go out and review things based on accusations of people involved with the film, and I suppose this discrepancy makes a bit more sense. But you can also feel this controversy in the film itself to some degree, as much of his plot is focused on being a disgraced content creator. Craig makes a Cinema Snob film in-universe with Neil, who is now played by Rob Walker here. And it's so bad that everyone sees him as a big joke now. And now suddenly his dream of someday stepping outside of his series, away from this character of the Cinema Snob and being a full-on filmmaker, feels very much dead and out of reach anymore. Something which again I can't help but be reminded of with the AVGN movie's story and the aftershock it had on both James and the general fandom of AVGN at the time. And then there's his friend Neil, who obviously helped them in making this movie, which by the way, the bad movie that they made in universe here is sort of like a dramatic retelling of the first movie, but where they go into space and shit. So obviously as a director, Neil is also disgraced, but he's also been disgraced before this because of the mistreatment of several actors on previous film sets of his. Then there's Shelley Songs, played by Tamara Chambers, who is a content creator who never seems to get any attention at all, or is generally seen as, super cringe the few times that she does. And then there's Brysicle, who is a streamer who has been cancelled online for being racist against, sideshow circus freaks, I guess? They're all going on this road trip, in the first place after meeting at a con because Craig needs help from his rich dad, who's in the TV business, who he's never reached out to for help before, because Craig wants to be his own man and make his own career. It's part of why he decided to make exploitation films, because they were something that was accessible and easier to make, and something that originally inspired him. But now he feels pressured into doing this because otherwise he won't be able to pay off the debt he's collected from making that shitty movie. There is also just the general sense that he wants to talk to his dad after so many years of not doing that. Along the way, these four end up driving through a little town out in the middle of nowhere and accidentally come to find that almost everyone in that town is a hillbilly cannibal. There are also a bunch of brainwashed clowns that also eat people who are ruled over under a circus ringleader played by Doug Walker.
I've seen E.T. fuck someone with a carrot dick. I've seen Sasquatch fuck a group of campers. I've seen a Christmas special where they fire live ammunition on stage. I have seen enough 70s horror movies to know that the highway sucks, and anything you find on the highway will try and kill you. So believe me when I tell you that I am surrounded by serial killing clowns. See? I knew it. I fucking knew it!
We would like you to get your jumper cables and escort us to our van immediately. Thank you.
It's a lot, but I'd say on a whole, it's a pretty decent little film. It has some pretty funny moments, and as always, Doug steals the show playing the villain here. There's also some decent special effects here and there, and it's overall just a pretty entertaining movie, with probably a standout being the fact that the Cinema Snob character getting the play off of all these much weirder, more manic characters around him. That's something that he kind of does in Kickassia, which we'll get to in more detail when we talk about Kickassia. but he's probably one of the best characters for interacting with more crazy, nonsensical type characters, as his snarky attitude that he usually applies towards really crazy or shitty exploitation films is now being applied to really crazy or shitty people. But I would say that I do kind of prefer the first movie to this one, mostly because the first movie feels a little bit more unique. It's a little bit more cozy and chill of a vibe, while this one is much more super meta and a lot more in your face at times. In fact, it kind of reminds me of Nostalgia Critic episodes that were being made around that time, I suppose, which isn't a bad thing. It's just a very different sort of vibe than the first one was. The film also does several meta jokes, like mentioning how weird it is for films to have a credit start near the 10-minute mark of the film, only for them to do that exact thing in the movie, or them noting how it's cringe for a sequel to have callback jokes to the first one, only for them to do just that, etc, etc. However, in regards to all the meta disgrace YouTuber stuff, what I found kind of interesting in all of it is that they didn't really have a strong message or pathos with what any of it meant in the end. It's not a problem that is fixed or fought off. It's not really something that Brad or Craig or any of the other characters kind of look into the camera and say is wrong or fucked up or what have you, or that we should be doing better. It's not handled in the way that Linkara would have handled it, is what I'm saying. Instead, in the movie, being cancelled, disgraced, or seen as cringe is either accepted as partly one's own fault, or sort of just a force of nature that is useless to fight against in full, and is ultimately better off being fixed by just moving on to the next idea or project or thing. Which is honestly more than fair enough, I suppose. At the end of all this, when Craig does meet up with his dad, who is played by Lloyd Kaufman, they have a bit of a heart-to-heart, but I'll fully admit that they have a conversation that feels like it's about a lot of things, and yet also seems to be about literally fucking nothing and kind of goes nowhere, but sort of somewhere, but also nowhere. I'm unsure if that was what the intention was here. It kind of feels like it was, so if it was, good job on that, I guess. But if not, I'm left rather confused by that last conversation. The movie ends with Shelley and Bicycle getting parts in Craig's dad's new TV show, and Craig and Neil end up getting funded to do a new movie through a series of random and crazy and nonsensical events, involving a guy who was racing them that they didn't necessarily mean the race, but was racing them on their road trip the whole time, deciding that since they won the race, he gives them $50,000 and says that he's gonna go jump off a bridge.
Thank you. What are you gonna do next?
I just lost a race, so I'm gonna go drive off a cliff. Goodbye forever.
In a vacuum, this is kind of just another road trip type movie, with some cliche or expected outcomes as we go along. Not the worst of that type of movie by any means, but not amazing either. But on a meta level, this film is very much an interesting piece into not only Brad's perspective on the change the channel stuff, as well as being a content creator for so long at that point. But since Doug Walker and Rob Walker are also involved in this movie, it's very likely we're also getting a little bit of a perspective into those two's perspectives on it as well, to some degree anyway, which is a factor I never really hear anyone bring up in regards to any of that drama, or in general I suppose, because, like I said, most people don't know that there was a Cinema Snob movie, let alone two of them. But you do now, and I have watched them so that you don't have to, but maybe you should, just for fun. On a final note regarding Brad Jones, I just want to say that as a whole, he has been one of the most consistent content creators from the site over the years. He's never really gotten into any major controversies himself, and through it all, he's stayed a fierce and loyal friend of Doug Walker, even when the chips were down, which again, we will cover in more detail in the future. But if I were to guess why Brad was so loyal to Doug, is that, number one, he legitimately does appreciate everything Doug Walker has given him in allowing him this audience that has stayed remarkably loyal to him throughout all the years, giving him a platform to talk about all these weird and obscure movies where others might have scoffed at him or never given him a chance. But also, as I noted before, there is a video where Brad talks about the fact that he used to be super addicted to cocaine. But what I didn't share about that video until now is that video is not just about that fact. It was also about the fact that during that time he had actually considered killing himself. The reason I bring this up is I think it's because Brad is one of those characters, one of those people that doesn't really come off as the sort that would, well, have gone through that. Even though his character is very sardonic and very sarcastic, him as a person, while also kind of being that, seems pretty upbeat and full of life and comedy. And so when stuff started coming out against Doug Walker, again, some of it might have been a bit over-exaggerated or just outright stupid, as we'll come to find out, I think Brad knew what it was like to be there when all your chips are down and you're facing possibly making some terrible decisions, and so he chose to stick by Doug instead of walking away. And for that, I just have to say that I deeply respect them. Brad is a creator that I think is sadly often overlooked when others look into the That Guy with the Glasses history, and maybe that's because through it all, he's just kind of been doing his thing. Whether you enjoy what he does or not, it doesn't really matter. If you're looking at the pantheon of That Guy with the Glasses people, you're probably a lot more likely to look at someone like Spoonie, who rose to such high highs only to slowly fall apart after bad choice or tragic thing after tragic thing. Or Linkara, who is just a rabbit hole that even after I talked about him for 16 hours, I'm still not technically done talking about him. We're not even close. Not to mention all the people who have all this crazy drama connected with the change the channel stuff, or just internet personalities butting heads, or they're very historical in the context of like Doug Walker versus AVGN, etc, etc. But Cinema Snob's also not one of those ones that wasn't a nobody that kind of just disappeared. He was there the whole time in all the big stuff. He just kind of was there. The definition of a side character, you might say. But there certainly isn't anything wrong with that, especially if they enjoy what they're doing and people enjoy their stuff. He still makes videos to this very day. Again, Cinema Snob videos, Brad tries stuff, midnight movie screenings, along various other type stuff as well, and seems to have no signs of stopping anytime soon. At the end of the day, Brad Jones plays a cinema snob, but he is, behind that, a guy who appreciates art that is often overlooked or looked down upon by film critics, and I think that that's pretty cool. Yo, thank you so very much for watching all the way through. I hope you all enjoyed it. Again, one more reminder, if you want to go and see the next part of this video, you can do that right now on my Patreon, where you can see Volume 1 of the Team That Guy with the Glasses Lightning Round, where I cover multiple creators all in one video, including the likes of Phaelus, Film Brain, Super Epic Fail Guy, etc. We're officially in that stage of this retrospective, and I cannot wait to continue. But with that being said, this has been Dylan the Night Owl, flying off.